Can you be a spokesperson? Can you be not Kati waliyo n'abalala abali ku nsonga za court martial nga si necessarily bawagizi ba opposition oba ba NUP abaveeye Karamoja be bakwatira eyo musimanya balina amamundu abamaje bayitirivu bali makomera nabo bali eyo babonaabona so abantu bangi ate kati ffe twagala kulwanirira just abaffe aba opposition aba NUP nedda twagala bwenkanya obw'abannansi bonna. Okay, we came today as members of parliament from the opposition to visit prisoners. We have several prisoners at Luzira, Chigo, Chitalia who are being held there, not because they are being prosecuted, but because they are being persecuted. We have interacted with Dr Kizza Besigye, Haji Obed Lutale, the team of the Bobby Youngs. There's several of them, you know, there's those in Chitalia, Machete, Yasin, Kalanzi Sheriff, and several others. The thing about these individuals, they were sent to jail by the General Court Martial. The General Court Martial, on 31st January of this year, the Supreme Court said you have got no jurisdiction over civilians. In fact, the General Court Martial is not meant to be a court. It's meant to be a disciplinary kind of entity for serving officers and not a court of law. What we have been bothered about all of this while is, why are these people still being held in jail? And yet the Supreme Court said the General Court Martial has got no authority and jurisdiction over them, but they're still being held here on the orders of the General Court Martial, which is ultra vires. Some of the files have since been transferred to civilian courts, Dr Kizza Besigye, Haji Obed Lutale, and even for them, while their files were transferred to civilian courts, there's still a pooling, back and forth for them to be granted bail. The other day, the High Court judge said, well, yes, you qualify for bail, you've got the right sureties and so on and so forth. However, we shall still keep you in jail. Because when you go, you're going to interfere with the, the processes and all of that. And then there's all of these others whose files have not been transferred. The Bobby Youngs, Machete, Kalanzi, and a plethora of others whose files have not been transferred to the civilian courts. And we are saying, why? We have raised this matter in Parliament severally. The most recent time, Honorable Norbert Mao came out to say, well, we are working on it and so on. Obviously, Mao seems to have colluded with the state to keep these people in jail, because that's what his statement was saying, to show that we are still working on it. It's over 3 months. What exactly are you working on? Because these files, you're meant to transfer them. He was saying, well, they're still investigating. You have held these people for over 4 years. A number of them have been in jail for over 4 years. What exactly are you investigating that you've not investigated for 4 years? If you had any evidence, surely 4 years later, why have you not adduced that evidence anywhere? These people are still very strong on their conviction that, one, they are political prisoners. They're in jail because of their political beliefs, all of them. They're not in jail because they committed any offense. Otherwise, some kind of evidence should have been adduced, but none has been adduced to date. And they are demanding for their freedom. They are wondering why they're still being held. Yet the Supreme Court said the General Court Martial that sent them to jail has got no jurisdiction over them. We continue to demand. Honorable Norbert Mao, you're the contact person, you're the minister in charge. You're the one who brought a statement which was a very, in my view, shallow statement. It had no content at all. What we want to see is either release these people, free them. Free them. Or if you have anything on them, take it to the civilian courts and then we can follow up from there. The other matters of concern, you see, there are people who are being held here on some interesting cases. offending the first family, including General Museveni, his son Muhoozi, and others, the likes of Madubala and others, who are being held in jail because apparently on social media they offended the first family. I don't know how that makes sense, because the person who does a lot of offending on social media is the one Muhoozi Kainerugaba. You are holding people saying they are offending Muhoozi Kainerugaba, but on a daily basis, especially in the middle of the night at a particular time when he's in, I don't know what state. He goes on Twitter, abuses whoever he wants to abuse, threatens to kill others, and so on. Those people are saying, if indeed they committed an offense and they offended the first family, Muhoozi should be in jail too, should be with them. The Madubalas, Lucky Choice, and others. You know, all those TikTokers who have been held in jail because apparently they offended the first family. They're saying this does not make sense to us. If indeed we said words that offended the first family, Muhoozi has offended so many people in this country, he has threatened to kill so many people in this country, he should be in jail with them. The other matter of concern, prisons across the country have got 79,000 inmates. 37,000 of those are on remand. The biggest quandary about this is the holding capacity of all the prisons in Uganda is 22,000. But 79,000 are the ones who are being held in the various prisons across the country. Meaning that the prisons across the country are full to capacity with an excess of 57,000 people. They're meant to have a capacity of 22,000, but they've got 79,000. And that's why people sleep back to back. So it's easy for disease to spread and many other habits, as you have heard, and so on. And of course, the general discomfort, because just because somebody is in jail, either because they have been convicted or they are on remand, that does not mean that they cease to become human beings. The congestion in prisons across the country is problematic. The prisoners do tell us, have told us, as they have mentioned severally, it is a very precarious situation. You cannot have more than 3 times the capacity of people who are meant to be in jail. That's the situation that we have. Of course, the prisons authorities have come to Parliament a number of times to say, let's increase the budget so that we build more prisons across the country. I think that that's not the solution ultimately. That's not to say we should not, beef up the facilities that we have. Even a number of them, you can see they need a bit of a touch here and there. But I think more importantly, the courts of law have got to move. 37,000 people that are on remand, a number of them keep asking for bail again and again. Why are you holding them on bail and yet you can try them when they are coming from home? Why do you want to fill our prisons to capacity because of matters that have not been concluded? Some people have been on remand for several years. Why? Why are their matters not being concluded by especially the courts of law? And then of course we have these political prisoners who people are in the jail for 4 years, 5 years. Why? Evidence has not been adduced and all of that. So we think that this is an injustice. Just because somebody, even for the convicts, it does not mean that because you have been convicted of an offense, your rights should be stripped away from you. So this is another matter of concern. We hope that the Chief Justice and our courts of judicature will take this as a very serious matter. We cannot have 79,000 people occupying space meant for 22,000 people. It is unacceptable. It is inhuman. We have got to remedy it. Uganda. Okay, there is, of course, the other issue that was especially emphasized by Dr. Kizza Besigye. We visited several people, but we also got time to interact with Dr. Kizza Besigye and Hajo Bed Lutale. One of his concerns is that why are suspects being treated in similar manner like convicts? Because a convict, you have been tried and you have been sentenced. Maybe you appeal, but even when you appeal, you're not a convict because now the court process is still ongoing. But convicts are those who were sentenced and they are serving their sentences. Suspects are those who are on remand. They are simply being kept here as they keep being taken for trial. And he's saying it is not right that suspects be treated like convicts. They cannot very easily interact with all of the people they would want to interact with. They've got to sit on the other end, talk to them on phone and so on. Of course, for us, we said, but look, we are these people's leaders. We've got to listen to them, connect with them, see the state in which they are, so that we can, talk about all of that afterwards. Yeah, so we were able to meet with them, shake their hands and so on. But that does not happen for their relatives, their family, and so on. So that is a concern that we want to follow up on as well, because the convict and the suspect are different, so it makes sense. The court-martial bill. Okay, and thank you for reminding me. Honorable Namboze is our shadow minister for internal affairs, so from our end, she's the one in charge of these prisons. Eh? Yeah. You release our people. Yes, the other element is that these prisoners, especially those that were sent to jail, here, Chitalia, and so on, by the General Court Martial, they are concerned about the looming amendment to the UPDF Act. They are worried that the delay to transfer their files is because Honorable Norbert Mawa and others, they are engineering the UPDF amendment bill so that it keeps them in jail. That's another concern to them. And it's a justified concern because it goes against the laws of our country. It goes against Article 92, which says Parliament cannot pass a law to alter a decision of court. But also they are saying the Supreme Court already took a decision. Why are you still persecuting them? That's another concern that these prisoners do have, that we shall keep amplifying at every opportunity. They are also concerned about their leaders in Parliament who were given money. Money, one, to appreciate them for passing the coffee amendment bill, the coffee bill as it were, and now the UPDF amendment bill that is coming, so that these people can be kept in jail. So to them, and rightly so, they are saying this is clear persecution. If MPs have got to be paid money to pass a bill for them to be locked up in jail, they are prisoners, yes, as people on remand, but they've got rights, and they're also saying the law of the land should be respected. Ekomera libayisa bubi kubanga omuntu yenna yali agadde abeere n'eddembe lye. Ne bagamba nti bagumu. Obugumu bwabwe buva ku nsonga eri egamba nti tebalina musango gwonna. Kyovudde olaba emyaka ena giyise nga tewali bujulizi buvuddeyo obubaluma tebuliiyo. So banywevu era nga bagumya bannayuganda nga babeebaza mwebale kubalwanirira eyo gye tubeera mu Parliament, ababeereyo abantu ab'enjawulo ku social media n'ebirala babeebaza mwebale kubalwanirira mulemereeko. Bo banywevu era nga balina essuubi bajja kuteebwa kubanga tebalina musango gwonna. Anti waliyo bameka? Luzira apa waliyo abasibe 2. Ekigo tulina abalala balinga 7. Ekitaliya waliyo abalala 9 abali ku nsonga za court martial, kuba tulina n'abalala abamu tutamanyi na kumanya. Kati waliyo n'abalala abali ku nsonga za court martial nga si necessarily bawagizi ba opposition oba ba NUP abaveeye Karamoja be bakwatireeyo musimanya balina amamundu, ab'amagye bayitirivu bali mu makomera nabo bali eyo babonaabona. So abantu bangi ate kati ffe tetwagala kulwanirira just abaffe aba opposition aba NUP, nedda twagala bwenkanya obw'abannansi bonna. Kera ddala ng'ovudde ne ku kye tulowooza, ssemateeka yaffe Kawairo 92 kagamba nti Parliament eyinza kuyisa tteeka ligezaako kumenyaawo kooti kyebeesazeewo ne webeera high court, ate kaakati eno kooti ensukulumu. So kati si kigambo kyaffe just ngaffe, naye kigambo kya ssemateeka yaffe. Naye n'ekyokubiri kiba kikyamu ogamba nti kakati etteeka lino liyisibwe abantu bano twongere okubongerako nati okubanywereza ddala eno. Bw'oba olina obujulizi ku bantu bonna batwale mu kooti za bulijjo, leeta obujulizi obawoozese obujulizi bwoba olina omusango gujja basinga. Obujulizi bwoba tebuliiwo nga bwe tusuubira kubanga emyaka gino gyonna tebabuleetanga bateebwe. Tinikyo. Kale, asante.